This is the Nike Pegasus 38. A neutral daily trainer with a sandwich mesh upper. The midsole is a React midsole with Zoom Air Pods in the forefoot. The outsole is a full rubber covering with some pretty impressive tread for a road shoe. You have a 10mm drop. This is a men's US 10.5 and it comes in at 10.9 ounces. And you can walk away with a pair for $120 US. All right, what is going on, guys? Kyle McCue here with another running video. Today we are talking 200 miles on the Nike Pegasus 38s. There's a bunch of good reviews out there. I will link a couple in the description, but today we are talking the Kyle McCue version, my review of the Nike Pegasus 38s and all the training I have done in them. If you get anything out of this video or you like running content, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into my 200-mile review of the Nike Pegasus 38s. So I've run 216 miles in this shoe. I did all of my training leading up to New York City just 2 weeks ago. I can link a video to that above. And in my training, that's also included a 21-mile long run. So these things can go at least the distance in that department. But before we get into anything else, let's get into kind of the fit and feel and how I enjoyed running in the shoe. So in terms of slipping into these Nikes, I felt like I had a real snug, nice fit in the heel, tons of cushion back there. Moving forward, the arch, minimal arch pressure. Some shoes, you jump into them. I feel like I said pressure really weird there. Some shoes, you jump into them and you feel a little bit of pressure on the arch. That's often some good support, but also can end up being kind of uncomfortable on longer runs. I did not feel any real pressure on the arch, so I just don't think it's as high. And yeah, I never had any sort of issue with that. Other shoes, I have felt the arch throughout runs. Moving forward from there, toe box, nice room, seemed to be an issue with the 37s. People complained about having not enough room or volume in the toe box. I think they definitely fixed that. I did not run on the 37s, but these guys have tons of room in the toe box, and that felt really great for me. Ran true to size. This is a 10.5. I've got a narrow foot. Heel and arch, midfoot all felt snug, which is sometimes a concern for me going with a true to size or going more on the larger side. Sometimes I size down so that my heel and everything, just so I can get a more snug fit basically in other parts of the foot. Often the downside of that is being cramped in the toe box. Not the case with these. Perfect, true to size fit. And then when it comes to running in the React foam with the Zoom Air Pod, after 200 miles, I felt early on, I could feel the pod and it was giving a little bit, just a different kind of pressure in the forefoot. I really couldn't tell you if I liked it or disliked it. The React foam in itself is not a cushy, bouncy midsole. It is definitely more of some absorption and a real feel for the road underneath your foot. So these are not the bouncy, PB midsoles that you would see on the Vaporflies and the Zoom Flies, or like the Endorphin Speeds or Endorphin Pros. You're feeling a lot more underneath you in this one. AirPods, like I said before, I think it gives a different feel early on when you first jump into it, but it's something you totally forget about. And ultimately, this just feels to me like a Nike React midsole. For what it is, it's a great midsole material, kind of heavy, but it gets the job done. And final thing about fit and feel when you jump into these guys, the bottom has, this rubber traction that is borderline made more for like minimal trails than I would say roads. That being said, while you are on a road running in rain or a dry surface or a gravel type surface, you should feel totally comfortable in the traction on these bad boys. I never felt like I was gonna slip. Never felt like I was gonna have any sort of issue with that. So, for being a kind of, I guess, narrow shoe as a whole in terms of your contact with the ground, I think you're gonna feel super stable between the React midsole that is not super duper soft and bouncy. So you're gonna feel the ground underneath, and then you've got pretty unreal traction. So this is a very I guess stable running daily trainer. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the fit and feel of the shoe, but now we're gonna talk a little bit about going 200 miles in it and how it breaks down and how far I think the shoe should go. So first and foremost, obviously the upper, it is a double layered sandwich mesh. It should last a long time and it is proving to do just that. I have no ripping or tearing. Sometimes I get tearing along the heel, kind of where the top of the heel, the top of kind of the ankle roll thingies. You know, the tongue is fully intact, all the cushion's still in there. Maybe some light fraying around the edge of the toe, but I would almost say that's equal parts running and equal parts me cleaning them and putting them through the wash a couple times. Yeah, upper is fully intact and doing great for 200 miles in. Moving down to the midsole, like I said before, Nike React with the Zoom AirPods in the forefoot. These things have not felt too much different at 200 miles than they did at 20 miles. I really think Nike React, it's not built for the lightweight speed, it's built for long haul and endurance. So while it's not a bouncy midsole, which is something you may want in your daily trainer for like the longer runs, or in just a general easy day where you want to bounce and let your legs recover, Nike React isn't quite there compared to other shoes, but in this price range, you may still end up leaning towards something like the Pegasus for that daily trainer. But yeah, going back to the midsole, after 200 miles, it feels very similar. I think the AirPods, while you may feel them when you first jump into them, you kind of forget about, and I generally don't notice them much like anymore. Like it's almost like you just feel like you're on a Nike React midsole. You can feel the ground under you, but you know that it should last a long time, and it's easily lasted 200 miles. And finally, when it comes to looking at the shoe after 200 miles, you've got the outsole, which is a full rubber outsole with pretty impressive tread on it. It has, you know, these geometric four-sided studs on basically half the shoe, and then the outside of the shoe is lined with mainly more horizontal and then some longer sections on the outside. I have almost full tread still on it after 200 miles, a teeny bit off the top of the toe, and even then it's super duper minimal. I guess a little bit on the forefoot. I've clearly done some damage, but when it comes to like the heel, midfoot, all the tread looks pretty great, and I don't think I've done much damage in 200. And ultimately, you know, I think the shoe, based on the overall breakdown, should go, you know, 400, 450, maybe 500. The first thing that's probably going to go on this shoe is going to be that React midsole. I think the tread will last forever, and I think your upper, unless you're really running through, you know, like basically light trails with like little branches or little plants that are gonna rip up that mesh, the first thing that's gonna go on this is gonna be your midsole and the AirPods, because everything else is really built to go 450 plus miles. So is the Nike Pegasus 38 the true workhorse of daily trainers, and is it worth it for you to buy as a daily trainer for $120 today? I mean, my short answer is yes. I think it's more for the introductory runner who's looking for something that can do just a bit of everything. I did almost all my New York City Marathon training in this shoe. I didn't really do much speed work, so this is definitely not a speed work shoe with the weight that it has in it. But overall, for 120 bucks, you are getting, you know, an upper that has the cushion and the comfort and the durability to last a long time. You're getting tried and true Nike React foam with, granted, seems kind of artificial, but the intentional upgrade of the forefoot AirPods. And you're also getting a tread that you could take on gravel, road, light trails, and it's going to last a long time, and you're not going to be slipping around on anything. With all that positive, I do have a couple takeaways on what I would love to see in a future Nike Pegasus shoe. So the number one thing that I wish I could say about this shoe that would make it totally, a next level daily trainer is if that 10.9 ounces for the men's 10.5 came down to like a high 9 rather than a high 10. And I think there's opportunities for that. Obviously for Nike, I mean, they have to manage what a $120 training shoe is compared to, you know, they now have the Zoom Fly 4, which is gonna be that $160 retail with carbon plate. So yeah, I'm sure they're managing what can go into a Pegasus and what will go into higher tiers. But you know, a handful of things. Maybe you get rid of some of the midsole tread on this, take a little bit of lightweight off. I don't think you need so much in the middle. You see a lot of shoes that only have it on the heel and the forefoot. That's an option. I think you could lighten up maybe some of the upper. I'm not saying they should get rid of all the sandwich mesh, but maybe in the toe box, you ditch a little bit. Maybe in the forefoot, maybe you go back to a thinner tongue, cut a little bit of weight there. And the obvious question is the midsole. React is what, 3-4 years old now? And sure, it's tried and true, but it would be pretty cool to ditch the React and put something in there that is maybe not quite as durable as React, but a lighter weight. Let's say this shoe comes in at 9.9 ounces instead of that 10.9. For 120 bucks, that would be an absolute gold mine of a shoe. So positives, and obviously, I won't say negatives, I'll say hopefuls for the next shoe. Obviously, we are on 38 and this line of shoes is not going anywhere. So there's definitely hope for the future. All right, my friends, that is my review after 200 miles in the Nike Pegasus 38s. Like I said, there's a bunch of different other reviews out there. This is just the Kyle McCue version. Let me know if you run in the Pegasus. Let me know if you have any questions about the shoes that I could hopefully answer. Hopefully you got something out of the video. Please consider liking and subscribing if you like this kind of content. And obviously, enjoy your runs out there. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. I never know with these. I try, you know. It's really hard to say anything other than these were pretty good or they weren't that great. Every shoe has their positives and their negatives. And ultimately, when you're trying to get a shoe that's supposed to do it all, it can't. It doesn't exist. I think.